Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. How much simpler would it be for you to plan Hijrah if you had someone who could give you all the information you needed before you went, or give you useful tips and advice and tell you what you can expect in your first year there? In this video, I'm going to discuss something very, very important that we need to know about, and that is the idea or the importance of being careful with contracts and job offers. Now, I understand that all of this preparation that you've been doing, all of the CVs and the resumes you've put, all the job hunting, all the effort that you put in has finally yielded a result. And that is, you've been contacted by a company for a legitimate job offer, or what appears to be legitimate. The job itself may be real, okay? But one thing about some of these countries that you go to is that they know that everyone wants to come to their country. And so as a result of that, sometimes people will take the first, as we say, the first train running, or the first thing smoking, and get out of there no matter the conditions. Some of us have become accustomed to, kind of making sacrifices, going without, kind of in the struggle, and, that's, we're a product of that environment. However, when you're talking about labor, when you're talking about working as a foreigner overseas, you have to know that you do have certain rights, and that some things that people are doing are not, they are not lawful or legal, and they're not ethical. Okay, so I'm going to discuss a few things, and the first thing is going to be the contract itself. So what is the contract for? So oftentimes you will get a contract offer that says X, and when you get there, it says Y and Z. In other words, what you are being asked to perform in your job duties does not match the description of the job offer that you initially responded to. Otherwise, you probably would not have agreed to it. As an example, you may be asked, you may be offered a job to teach high school students. And then when you get to where you're going, you find out that it's actually a teacher's aide position for kindergarten. It's not what you signed on for. But a lot of times you might wind up taking the job because you bought the air tickets, you got the passports, you've probably liquidated most of your possessions. You're on the plane, you're in country, you've landed, you're here now. And if you got family in tow, it puts you in a really tough situation. So that's one of the things that can happen. Another thing that can happen is that, and this is the part where it becomes a bit illegal. In certain countries, especially in the Gulf countries, not every country does this, but if you're going to work in the Gulf countries, there are certain countries, for example, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, and a couple of other Gulf countries. I don't know about all the Gulf countries, but quite a few of them. In the labor law, they have to provide you a few things. They must provide, because if they're outsourcing foreign labor from another country, the government itself is more concerned with you not being a burden. That foreign laborer, that foreign worker is not going to be a burden on the society. In other words, he's not going to soak up all the healthcare situations and the taxpayers have to pay for that. He's not going to get in a situation where he's stuck and he can't leave the country. Now he's there illegally, or he's on the street and he's homeless. So the company must provide you transportation. If a company calls you or contacts you and says, we have a reimbursement program, this is one of the oldest games in the book. And oftentimes it has attachments to it or conditions to it so that you can get your money back and get reimbursed. So I'll give an example so that it doesn't sound abstract. Company A says, hey, we have a nice position for you. I'm going to use teaching because this is what I know. And often I see it happen with teachers, but it does happen with regular workers as well. They'll say, hey, we have an excellent position for you. The salary is, top tier, competitive salary, as they say, right? And they said, they give you all the salary, the benefits, what you're going to get, all that. And they say, well, the only thing is you have to pay for your own air ticket. So when can you get here? That's the first red flag. That's the first stop sign. Because what they'll say is, well, we will provide reimbursement for your ticket, okay, when you get here. What they don't tell you sometimes is that these tickets have probably a 14-day, 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day waiting period before they reimburse you your money. Remember, you got to understand something. Education is a business. Education is a business. I remember I had a colleague a long time ago from South Africa, and they told me that, and I told them, I said, I noticed that a lot of the teachers, in South Africa, or a lot of the people in South Africa, they go into the teaching profession and they go into the medical profession. And I was told that during the apartheid era, that's all that was available to them. Either be a teacher or be a nurse or a doctor. That's all that was available. So that was the business. So people that got into the profession, not because of the love of their profession, not because of their love for teaching or their wanting to help people, as everybody always says about being a doctor or a nurse or working in the medical field, but because that was the only jobs that were available. So I'm doing the job because that's what's available, not because I necessarily like the job. So it's a business. It's a way for me to eat and to support myself and to survive and take care of my family. This is no different. This is no different. So this is business first. It's never personal. It's never racist. Like a lot of people mistakenly understand this. Well, if it was like this and like this, in some cases it might be like that because of what they're looking for. But if they've contacted you and they're offering this to you, and they're making contact with you, more than likely there's no racial component there. It's a business component. It's a business component. From what I'm about to say right now, I don't need you guys to come at me. I've seen this, and some of you have seen it for yourselves. And that is, we know that white skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, that's a business asset. It's not that they think white people are better than dark-skinned people or people of color, as they say. It's not that. It's that this is what attracts people. For some reason, people see white skin, blonde hair, blue eyes as superior to the customer. So I need to market my business and put that piece in the front. I'm not saying that those people who are like that are less qualified, less enthusiastic, less professional, less ethical, or anything else. I'm saying this is business. It's business. Okay, I can't find a white skin, blonde hair, blue eye, European, or American, or Canadian, or Westerner. What's next? Give me a white-skinned Arab. This is business. It's not race. It's business. Please get that in your mind. It's business. Okay, I can't find a white-skinned Lebanese Arab. I can't find a white-skinned Syrian. I can't find a white-skinned Arab. Who's next? Okay, let me go down the line and you keep going. So, by this being a business situation, those who are involved are going to try to save as much money as possible and cut as many corners as possible. The problem is they know that there are things that you don't know. That's why we make this channel, to let you know that there are things that you need to know, so that if that happens to you, you can say, I was under the impression that under the labor law, you're to provide for the ticket, period. And they have to provide round trip. Either round trip or they have to provide a one-way so that they can get you to them. And then they're going to provide a round trip ticket. If you stay there long enough and you finish the contract year, you're going to get your government mandated 45 days of paid leave. Okay, so they have to write you a ticket or have you a ticket round trip, because if you're renewing your contract and you've either already signed the contract or you're still within your contract period, typically your first contract is normally always a year. And that's kind of like, that's the best advantage. It might not sound stable, but that's an advantage, because if it's not what you expected it to be, you don't have to sit there for a year. You can go ahead and go at the end of the year. But normally it starts out as 1 year and then it goes into 2 years, and it's just 2 years, 2 years, 2 years until you leave. So if you're offered a position of employment and then you have to pay for your own air ticket and get reimbursed, the likelihood of your being reimbursed is small. because it's conditional. There's tags attached to that. And so they'll say, well, according to the contract, you were supposed to do a minimum of 30 days or 45 days in order to get reimbursed. You didn't do that. You quit. You left. So you breached contract. You breached the contract. In other words, you broke the contract. So now, not only are you liable to the school for replacing you with the monies that they have to spend to bring another business prospect on, another employee on, okay, but you also forfeit the right to that ticket. So you have to get back on your own power, on your own dime. Don't take any offer in which you're going to be reimbursed. There's too many tags attached to that. Plane tickets, insurance. They have to provide insurance because the government needs to know. The government wants to be sure that the people you're bringing on here are not going to get sick to the point where they drain the resources of the medical system because they don't have proper insurance. If you're going to bring the people in from outside, you as the kafir, you as the sponsor are responsible for them, and you must make sure that they have basic things set up. Transportation to and from their country of origin, proper medical insurance on a basic level. They're not trying to provide you with, something that's going to cover, chemotherapy and all kind of other things. Basic stuff, basic like clinic visits, in and out the clinic, some major hospital stays, some medications are covered, some are not, like that. Basic medical stuff so that if you do need to go to a clinic, Mustosif, you can get by. If you need to go to the mustashfa, to the hospital, and see somebody, you can go do that, and you have a certain amount of insurance that they can bill somebody that's going to cover you. But don't come on with, well, you're responsible for your own medical, and then we'll reimburse you the cost of what you spent in the medical. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I can't stress that enough. You're going to chase people down for 150 real for some Tylenol that you're going to pay it out your pocket. You're gonna hunt these people down for some ibuprofen, for 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, or some aspirin, or whatever these basic generic types of medications that they make available to you. And now you have to submit the receipts, and then you have to wait till the end of the month to when they get paid, and then the financial supervisor has to look at them. Okay, then you find out they only cover a certain amount. We'll cover your medications up to an amount, which they never told you in the beginning. They didn't say we'll cover the first 200 real as an example. Just using real as an example. We'll cover the first 200 real, and then everything else is your responsibility. They didn't mention that. And even if they did mention that, it's still illegal because they have to provide the medical coverage for you on a basic level. What you would pay out of pocket are the things that the medical insurance does not cover. You would have to pay it anyway because there's no coverage for it. Okay, so if you had to go to the doctor, or if you had to go to the pharmacy and buy some ointment for some kind of scalp condition, a simple scalp condition, you would have to pay for that. Okay, if you went to get some lotion because you have some eczema or something like that probably wouldn't medically be covered. So you'd be responsible for that. You can go to the doctor, he can diagnose you. You can go to a dermatologist, he can diagnose you, she can diagnose you, and then tell you this is what you need to take. But when you get down to the cabinet, when you get down to the pharmacy, either in the hospital or close by, you may find out that kind of thing is not considered medically covered. Okay, so you would have to pay for that anyway. But the doctor's visit and all kinds of things like that, that medical coverage is supposed to cover it. So far, your round trip ticket, so the transportation of how to get to the country and being able to get home, is supposed to be covered by your kafil, or by your employer, sponsor. These words are used interchangeably. They're supposed to cover that, not you. Not you. Medical is supposed to be covered, not by you, not reimbursed, not spent up to a limit, and then we'll get you back on that. No. The third thing that the contract is supposed to cover is your living arrangements, your housing, because the government does not want you to bring people into the country and they have nowhere to live, or your salary is so small that you can't afford to pay to he can't afford to pay or buy a nice place or to rent a nice place, with his family. So now you're going to put him in some kind of compound housing with a bunch of other people. Come on. That's oppressive. That's oppressive. I got to live with all these, people who have a completely different definitions about clean, completely different definitions about hygiene and what that means. A whole different kind of lifestyle of upkeep of your home and, what's considered, clean. Why would you want to live with people like that? I understand you ready to go. I understand you ready to get out of here. And that's the only thing that's popped up. You've put in 25 different resumes over the last year or 2 or 3. And it's the only one that called you back. Now, what do you do? What do you do? Is 7,000 enough to live on because this and this and this and this? Because see, here's the thing. See, when they lowball you, they already know. These places have a certain salary that they have. Now, again, this isn't racial, okay? And a lot of people, I'm not saying that there's no racism. I'm saying in this part of the process here, race doesn't figure in. Nationality can figure in quite a bit because that will also determine your salary. Because what they do is they go and they look and they see what the cost of living is in the country where you come from, and they make it something comparable to that. This is why you find that a lot of Westerners, their pay is higher than those who are Asian, for example, okay? Because the cost of living is different, okay? So there's a pay scale for this kind of thing, and you're paid by your passport, not your nationality. So here's another thing. But before you go running, if you're American or if you're from a Western country, before you get too happy that you made it out of the lands of kufr and disbelief and shirk, and now you're in the land of Islam, you say, yo, I'm over here now. So later for y'all, I don't need none of this stuff. You can take this passport, all right? You can take this passport and stick it inside the doorway and use it for a paperweight. I don't care what you do with it. I'm not American no more, man. I'm done with y'all. Not a smart thing to do. Not a smart thing to do. Because you're paid by your passport. Okay, now look what you've done. You jammed yourself up. Because see, if you denounce your American citizenship, I'm using America as an example because this is what I know. If you denounce your citizenship to your country, then and you don't have another passport, you are what we call stateless. You're stateless. You're like an orphan. You're like a homeless person. You have no home now. You can't go anywhere. You have nowhere you can go. You have no passport. And your passport establishes your identity. So you've got no passport. You have no place to call, for lack of a better term, home. Keep your American passport. Keep your Canadian passport. Keep your New Zealand passport. Keep your passport with you so that in case you ever have to leave under some emergency circumstances, you can fly. Even if you come from India and places where it's really, really hard for Muslims right now, okay? Imagine how much more difficult it would be if you manage to get out of that country, get to the country that you want to go to, something goes wrong and you have to leave and you have no passport. So now you can't leave even if you wanted to. Keep your passport. You're paid by your passport, okay? So the point I'm making is, these pay structures are already known. The only thing that isn't known is by you. You don't know how much that position is supposed to pay for. So if you're going to go and teach English as an example, and they say, okay, we want you for 7th grade English, and you're going to teach this curriculum and that curriculum and this and this and this, and you are a Western passport holder, nobody's supposed to be offering you 5,000 riyals, 6,000 riyals, 7,000 riyals. And they know it. But they know that you don't know it. They know you don't know it. And so they lowball you, right? Now, what's going to happen? They're going to say 7. You're going to say that's too low, but you don't know how much to ask for. So you're going to say, well, I was thinking maybe at least like maybe 8,500, maybe 9,000. I don't know about that. We have to talk to the department. Now you're getting nervous because you don't want to negotiate yourself out of a position, right? So now you get nervous. So you're like, oh man, maybe I should take that back. Maybe they may, reconsider, and this is the only job that's contacting me. What should I do? And then they come back and say, listen, the best we can do is 8. And you say, okay, fine, I'll take it. I'll take it. Because you didn't want to negotiate yourself out of a position, not knowing that you're 2,000 Rial underpaid. They know it, but you don't know it. They know it, but you don't know it. Now look at the bubble look at the corner that you've painted yourself in. You're underpaid by at least 2,000 Rial. You paid for your own ticket. Out of that 8,000 Rial, you got to pay your own housing, okay? And then you're on a reimbursement on a medical plan, so you don't even have any insurance, because that's what that translates to. That's a fancy way of saying we're not going to give you insurance. You're self-insured. That's what we call self-insured. You insure yourself. Any kind of procedure that's needed, you pay for it yourself. So they're saying, okay, well, we won't give you insurance, but if you spent money for a procedure, for medicine or whatever, we'll go ahead and give that back to you. But again, it has conditions attached to it, and you may not get it all, and you may spend months, because I've heard these stories before. You might spend the whole school year trying to get back 500 Rial or 1,000 Rial of medicines that you needed for your sick child or for yourself or for your spouse, and they playing games with you. They're playing games. They're going to give you your salary, but where's the medical reimbursement? Oh, that's a separate check. That's a separate payment. Oh, it's separate now. Okay, something happened here. So now, sorry, you gotta go look at this. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but that's what happens when you record semi-live. So the point I'm making is, don't settle. Don't settle. There are things that they're supposed to provide. If you don't get that, kindly ask for that. Let them know in a very non-confrontational way that you're supposed to be provided housing, and you're supposed to be provided this and that and that. And just kind of let them know, because people will do anything if they know you don't know. They'll say anything to you, and they'll do anything if they know that you don't know they can't do that. Okay. And sometimes, I won't say it's a scam, necessarily. The job is legitimate, but the person who's negotiating all this stuff, he's not doing right by you. And now you walk in having to spend all this money. And sometimes what happens when you get there, you have some illnesses and stuff like that happen as soon as you arrive. You ate the wrong thing. You drank the water too much. You got air sickness. Something happened with your family. Somebody got in an accident. Your wife got sick. Stuff like that. It happens. And sometimes as soon as you hit the ground, like you just got here, and 2 days later, somebody's in the hospital. Somebody needs to go to the doctor. And don't let your wife be pregnant and close to delivery. So you're coming in at a deficit, because you're taking all the money that you had, and now you're dipping into that right away, oftentimes before you even get your first paycheck. So make sure that you understand your rights, okay? And make sure this stuff is in writing. Make sure it's in writing. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. And don't fall for we're all Muslims here. Don't think that because a person is a Muslim that they're going to do right by you in this contract. People are people, and there are people who are trustworthy, and there are people who are cutthroaty. There are people who will take advantage of you, and there are people who will, bend over backwards to help you and assist you and do right by you, because they see this situation as an amana, as a trust by Allah, a trust in front of Allah. And then Allah will ask them about that Yawm al-Qiyamah when they meet him. They understand that. So they're going to do right by you, and they're going to make sure you got everything you need. They're not going to withhold information from you. They're going to tell you what you need, what you're entitled to, what you're not entitled to. And if there's any kind of leeway in there, any kind of wiggle room for them to kind of accommodate you, they're going to do that. But on the other side, you got people who it's just their business. And I'm not saying any of this so that you look at a person's side eye and don't trust people. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to foster mistrust and ill will before you even get on the plane. I'm just saying that you have rights, and you need to know what those rights are, and you need to ask for those rights, and not be shy to ask for those rights, and not be afraid to ask for those rights, for fear that you might get passed over for the job. That's important because I know you want to get out of here. I know you want to go. I know you want to go. I have been there, but you got to be patient and don't let your eagerness to get out of here put you in a worse situation than you were before you left. See, when you get overseas, you on your own. There's no support system. The government is not doing anything for you. The governments overseas, they're not like the governments in Canada and, or let's say North America, where, you fill out some paperwork and the government will, give you some subsidies and some money and some food cards and coupons and food stamps and all this other stuff until you, get on your feet. The government does not do that. You were brought in the private sector. It's the private sector's responsibility to take care of you and to make sure you have what you need and that you're adequately paid. So the government is not going to step in with that because that's not their arena. You don't work for them. You work for ABC School. You work for ABC Cookie Company. You work for ABC Factory. That's your job. That's your kafil. That's the one who is responsible for you. Go to your kafil and go get your rights. And if you, Lord forbid, Allah forbid you ever have to get to a court, they can drag that thing on, man, for years. I've seen that happen. The judge is constantly setting court dates so that the person that you have the grievance with can appear, and the person basically just playing the wait game because he knows that you've got an exit visa and he knows that you're going to be gone in a little bit, or he knows that your contract is coming to an end. So he routinely just does not show up for court. He makes an excuse. He asks for a continuance. He playing the wait game because he know you can't hang around forever. Eventually, you'll be gone. And once you leave, you've lost all claim to anything that you were owed. So please take your time with these contracts. Make sure that you are getting everything that you're supposed to get. And whatever you don't get, ask for it and get it in writing. There is no I'm Muslim, you Muslim, we all Muslims. In closing, I remember I was doing some tutoring in Kuwait. And so my fee at that time, I charged 15 KD an hour, 15 Kuwaiti dinar an hour, which now would be something just over about $45, $46 an hour. Believe me, they can pay it. They can pay it. And at first I was kind of selling myself short, 5 dinar, 10 dinar, I'm trying to not go up too high and, this. Nah, man, because this is work. I have to put my effort into this because you're expecting results. So I changed my fee structure from 10 to 15 KD. So I had one brother call me and he was like, yeah, I got your number from the registrar at the school, Miss so-and-so, so-and-so. And she said you were teaching English, and this and this and this. And so we got to talk about his kids and the level and like this. He said, how much is the fee? I told him the fee. Oh, we have an Indian lady, she charges 5 dinar. And she does like 4 or 5 kids at a time, for just 5 KD. I said, that's nice, but I'm American, I'm not Indian, and my fee is 15 KD. Oh, Mr. Abu Idris, you are Muslim, we are Muslims. I said, yeah, you're right. But here, he said, and inshallah, we're all trying to get to Jannah. I said, yeah, we're all trying to get to Jannah, but we're on earth right now, and the fee is 15 KD. I'll get back with you, no problem. Okay, so don't fall for that okie doke. Don't fall for the, I'm Muslim, you Muslim, in front of Allah, because people have some nice, smooth, slick speech to keep you from asking what your right is. And see, once you sign that contract and you agree and you come on, whatever's not in that contract, you cannot enforce it. I don't care how much you jump up and down and beat your chest, you won't be able to enforce it. It's not written down. A. B. Here's the last kicker before we go. Anything that is written in your contract as an addendum, it's something extra, right? So on the printed contract, that might be like the printed contract, standard contract that the school uses. And so if they're going to give you anything else, they have to write a handwritten addendum. And sometimes they might have to put initials next to it to say that they're the ones who actually did it and then like that. Make sure it's not written in English. What do you mean? I mean, how am I supposed to know what it says? And, and how am I supposed to know that he wrote it down? You have to make them write it in Arabic, because in contract disputes, the national language takes precedence over anything that is handwritten in another language. I'll say that again. Handwritten addendums, if you write something, you can write something additional to the contract and then both parties can sign it. This is perfectly okay in any language. But if there's a dispute as to the details or how something was supposed to be done or when or something, there's a dispute with that item, then we're going to go back to the language of the country, the national language, because there's too many nuances in different languages that this could mean this and that could mean that, especially in English. Okay, so have him write it in Arabic, and then have him write the same thing in English and in Arabic. That way, if when you get a copy of it in the court and it shows in English and also in Arabic, so that way the judge knows that he or she understood what they wrote, when they wrote it, and that you understand it because they also wrote it in your language. This is very important. So that's it, you guys. Please be very, very careful when you are negotiating these contracts. Yeah, be careful. I was going to add something else, but I think that the point has been made. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for the channel, and hit the notification button. Jazakallah khair for your time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.